Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. A warm welcome to yet another session of Conversations on Consciousness. And today we have a very special guest, Professor Gauri Mahulikar ji, joining us all the way from Kerala. Just a very brief introduction. Thank you, Gauri ji, for taking time for this session. We are very grateful to you, and I personally look forward to this conversation. Professor Gauri ji is the academic director at Chinmaya International Foundation. She was formerly the Dean of Faculty and former Vice Chancellor of Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth. She is a researcher in Vedic literature, a student of Vedanta, a passionate lover of Sanskrit literature. She is a woman of many faces. She has participated in many national and international conferences. She has published 7 books, more than 80 articles in various journals and book sections. She retired as the head of Sanskrit department and Gurudev Tagore Chair for Comparative Literature from Mumbai University in 2015. After which she had joined Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth as Vice Chancellor, and she is currently now handling various activities as the Chinmaya International Foundation, and she is also associated with many different institutions and NGOs in various capacities of as advisor, as management positions, etc. She is a Kannadiga, born in Karnataka, and but she can speak 5 languages. Apart from English, so it makes a total of 6 languages, I would say. Again, thank you, Gauri ji, for making time for this session. You have such a wide range of interests. I mean, when it comes to Bharati Vidya Parampara, I think you have touched upon every aspect of Bharatiya Sanskriti and Bharatiya Vidya Parampara. So, how did it all begin? How did your journey into delving deep into this Indian knowledge traditions begin? Who are your early inspirations? Tell us about your journey.
Thank you, Nitinji, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I am indebted to Indica Moksha for this, and maybe I'll start with an invocation to Lord Shankaracharya, who is always backing me, wherever I go. So this is a prayer which we recite at Illam every day in the morning. Vedanamagamanaam paramajalanidhim sarvabhijnanapurnam vedantarthaprakashakshamamamalaruchim bhanuvadhvantanasham shishtai shishyai sametam niravadhi sukhada jnanadataramishamVande Srimadgurunam Paramaguruvaram Shankaram Pujyapadam. So my pranams, Sashtanga Pranipats to Adi Shankaracharya and my father Pitrudevo Bhava. He is my first inspiring figure, who motivated me towards Sanskrit. Because of him, I studied Sanskrit further, and I had wonderful teachers also in schools. In fact, my schooling was done at 3 different places. 1st to 4th in Mahim in Mumbai, then 5th to 8th in Panvel. Panvel was a very small village then, and 9th, 10th and 11th again in Mumbai in Parle Tilak Vidyalaya. So while I was in Panvel was a very, I studied from 5th to 8th, so very impressionable age, right? Samskara kshamam vayaha. So father used to teach me the Navagraha Stotra, Navanaga Stotra, then Ramaraksha, Atharva Shirisha, then Bhagavad Gita chapters 12th and 15th, like by hearting all that. And we had, in Panvel, there was an Ayurvedic Dhuta Papeshwar Karkhana, Ayurvedic medicines. And the owner of that, one Kaka Sahib Puranik, he used to run like a Samskara Varga every Monday in the town, in his bungalow. And we were staying outside, near Bombay Pune highway, outside the city, because my father was working for Hindustan Organic Chemicals and we were given quarters there. But he used to send his car to fetch me and drop me in the evening. So, and there I learned, how to pronounce the Bhagavad Gita verses. When Joshi Guruji used to come there, these are all things which help us grooming in a way, whether directly or indirectly. So I owe it to all these, Kaka Sahib Puranics, Samskara Vargas, my father's initial lessons, and a teacher called Bapat Bai, and she made me appear for the, the external examinations from Pune, for Hindi also and for Sanskrit also. And while in 8th standard, I stood first in the Sanskrit Pravesha Pariksha from the entire Kolaba district. It was known as Kolaba district then, not Raigad. And, and then I came to Mumbai again for 9th, 10th and 11th. And there I had a wonderful teacher. My last touches of grooming and my love for Sanskrit literature, Vedanta, and various other things, the branches of knowledge in Sanskrit. That was all triggered by Masi Pendharkar sir. And he was like an old, he himself got trained in a Gurukul style. So he used to recite Karikas, and Shatrushanach and Nishtha Pratyaya, Sannanta, Nijanta. That was all above my head. I couldn't understand anything that time. But then he was the one who inculcated that love. So these are my first inspirations, I must say.
I think then you were also exposed to Swami Chinmayananda in the quite early.
Yeah, that was during my college time. After passing the 11th exams, I joined this one, and again, there is a story for that. Should I tell you that? I don't know.
Yes, please go ahead.
So this Pendharkar sir had invested lot of hopes in me. And in the 11th SSC, there is a special prize called Jagannath Shankar Shet Award for the first ranker in Sanskrit. And he hoped that I would bag it that year. I passed my SSC 11th in 1969. But unfortunately, something went wrong and I got only 75 out of 100. Okay. And that year, the prize was not 100 out of 100. It was 96. And he had, prepared me taking, question papers, prelim question papers from Pune, Nutan Marathi Vidyalaya, Chikitsak Vidyalaya, Balmohan Vidyalaya. And in every paper, I used to score above 97. So he was damn sure I will bag it. And I got only 75. Okay. And I was so frustrated. I cried and wept. And then I decided, that is another way, why I came to Sanskrit. Leaving aside all my science subjects were very good. I got above 90 in that. And in Sanskrit, which is by scoring, I got only 75. And that time, like just a 15, 16-year-old child, I took a vow, so to say, that in my BA, I will take Sanskrit as my major. I will top the university, and only then I will go and meet Pendharkar sir. How can I show my face to him?
Oh, God.
Believe me, I didn't see him for 4 great years till I passed my BA with Sanskrit.
And with gold medal.
With gold medal, yeah, from Bombay University. And then I remember my sister's would-be husband took me there all the way. He was staying in Borivali then. I was staying in Andheri. So it was far off for me, but he took me there and I met him there in his son's quarters at Borivali. And he was so happy for me. And of course, once, because I just wish that that was a prarabdha and that was destined. If it were the other way, perhaps I would have taken a science side. I wanted to be a professor like from my childhood. But professor in what was not decided. I think the only 75 marks in Sanskrit, they were quite decisive then, that they made me go to arts, choose Sanskrit for my BA major and top it. And then further, I took MA also and specialized in Vedanta then. So that is where, Shankaracharya came in my life, I should say.
So, as a scholar academic, you have studied not just Vedanta proper, that is Advaita, but also other manifestations of Vedanta, like Visishta Advaita and others
Yes,
also.
yes.
So, how is your approach to these different manifestations, should I say, of Vedanta? Because all of them base themselves in the Prasthanatraya, and I would like to think about, while even being an Advaitin myself, my personal preference is Shankara's Vedanta. But I would like to think others as well, flowers in the large garden, each of having their own unique attraction, unique audience, and also what is your approach, Gauriji?
Yeah, I agree with you in many aspects. I studied Vishishtadvaita, Sri Bhashya, and more than Shankara Bhashya, Shariraka Bhashya, I have taught during my Mumbai life, Mumbai University life, Sri Bhashya, because nobody used to touch it. It is such a profound Bhashya, very difficult to decipher. I mean, the language is not difficult. You don't need a dictionary to know the meaning of the word, but the construction, the syntactical style of Ramanuja, he was a profound scholar of Sanskrit. And with double negatives, he would, na anupalabdhehe and anupalabdhe. It was like mind-boggling. And but I love to teach that. And personally, I feel Ramanuja appeals to more to my head, but Shankaracharya is here, heart. So I love teaching Sri Bhashya of Vishishtadvaita. And in fact, I have more papers on Ramanuja's philosophy than on Shankara's Vedanta, So that also is quite evident that I really relish reading Sri Bhashyam especially. I have presented papers on his Gadyatrayam as well in Baroda Oriental Conference. So, I mean, I have worked quite a lot on Ramanuja. Madhvacharya and Vallabhacharya, I haven't done much in that, except the Panchabhedas of the Madhva Vedanta. And as far as Vallabhacharya's Shuddhadvaita is considered, I feel it is, the Avirbhava Tirobhava theory, which he puts forward. And he says that Krishna is possessing these qualities. I feel it is nothing different from the Vikshepakari Shakti and Vividha Vichitra Vikshepakari and Tirodhanakari Shakti of Maya. Only thing is Maya is the power of Brahman, we say, I mean in Advaita, whereas in Shuddhadvaita, Krishna himself, Brahman, that is Krishna himself has Avirbhava and Tirobhava. That is the only difference. And so I don't consider it much different, only the terminology differs. And what I feel is basically, except Shankaracharya, all other three acharyas, even Nimbarka also, are all theistic philosophers. Shankara is only the, what should I say, I mean, not to hurt any others, but a true philosopher who doesn't bring in the theism in his philosophy. It is purely intellectual, that way. And purely on a deliberation level, on logical level, he tries to convince all. Whereas all other acharyas bring in the saguna, sakara form of the vigraha, either Vishnu or Krishna. And that I think gives some limitations. restricts, So where they stop, I feel, the last stage of the other theistic philosophers, there Shankaracharya begins. Because that is the Apara Brahma. And then he transcends still more to the Parabrahma. So in a way, we could say that all these other things are the different upasana paddhatis, and the ultimate goal is Advaita.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is a wonderful perspective, Gauriji. You have done a lot of work on Natya Shastra also.
I
If I,
presented one dissertation for a competitive essay for the Mandlik Prize, Limji Gold Medal and Prize, yeah.
So, in our tradition, we consider Natya as a Veda, as a Panchama Veda as well in some traditions. And basically, Natya as a spiritual path, you can say. So, what are your thoughts on this aspect of Natya as a Upasana Marga? And are there some kind of overlapping between Vedantic path and the Natya path? Any work which are there on some overlapping of these interesting?
That's a good what you can say observation. But if we explore really, it is so. I mean, apparently it looks like it is entertaining. Kridaniyakam ichhamaha. That is how Indradi Deva went to Brahma, that we want some kridaniyaka, some plaything. Okay, and this was created as a plaything. But then it comprises of all the four Vedas, Jagraha, Patyam, Rigveda, etc., etc. And then Indradi Deva said, we can't do that, and therefore it has to be done by the rishis. And therefore Brahma called Bharata Muni and his 100 sons or shishyas, they took it over. That is how it starts. So though it starts with a Kridaniyakam and Loka Vrittanukaranam, etc., and Trailokyasya, like the Gunakirtanam and all that. Still, I feel, that Natya Shastra, I think the first chapter, somewhere it says Dukkhartanam, Shramartanam, Shokartanam, Tapasvinam, etc. And the second line is Vishranti Jananam Loke, Natyametad Bhavishyati. Vishranti Jananam. It is not just, what is that? Traigunyodbhavamatra loka charitam nanarasam drishyate and kantam kritam chakshusham, as Kalidasa puts it. But it is Vishranti Jananam. And this word Vishranti is typically used, in the Vedantic systems as well. So these are the different means like the Nritya, Natya, Sangeeta. Okay, so these are the different means to reach that supreme, that highest reality. So in a way, the aim is the same. The goal is the same. The paths are again different. And I just remember I quoted it somewhere last Sunday, that once Bhimsen Joshi, he was asked a question that while singing, there is a pause sometimes, and you are lost in that. So what do you think in that? And then Bhimsen Joshi said, I don't think, because I am not Bhimsen Joshi there. I am one with that. So that's a pregnant pause where he has that anubhuti. So every dramatist or vocalist or instrumentalist or even the dance performer for that matter, they want to connect with the sublime, the supreme, through these performing arts, through these fine arts. That's what I feel. So there is a lot of similarity in the goal. Achieving the goal, the paths are different. That's it.
I have heard that, I think it is in Odisha or in northern India, when they perform this Ram Leela, especially the one who performs the character such as Ravana, after the end of the Ram Leela, they take a break, they take some isolation, they do some rituals to come out of that state.
They become one with that.
Yes. So they do some kind of prayashchitta also for the actions committed during that Ravana Avastha. So I find this very idea very powerful, because this has very much parallels with the Indian occult system. We have all these systems of possession by deities, by bhutas. In coastal Karnataka we have bhuta aradhana and all.
Yes.
So we have so much parallels with classical systems as well as folk systems. So this is very fascinating.
Even Natya Shastra has that, and therefore Bhutanam Varanartham, the Mattavarani in the theatre, there are so many aspects, Rangashirsha, Rangapitha, Mattavarani, Shaddaruka. So Mattavarani is Mattan Varayitum Mattavarani. So this is to ward off the evil powers. And therefore the Nandi and the Purvaranga, all these are performed for the Nirvigna performance of the play, right? So that aspect is already there, always there.
Yes, yes, yes. So in the recent time, in the last few years, I have seen that interest in Itihasa Puranas have increased, especially because of a lot of many retellings and lot of fiction novels. Without commenting on the qualities of those novels,
I know.
some are good, some are okay, some are completely goes against the what should I say, the essence of the Itihasa.
Mhm.
But whatever that be, modern there has been a lot of revival of interest in Itihasa Puranas. We see that, for example, Mahabharata calls itself the Panchama Veda, as itself as a Upanishad, itself as a Dharma Shastra. So Mahabharata's self-descriptions are there. So what is, as an academic, what are your insights, somebody who has studied deeply these Hindu texts, what are insights on the pedagogical capacity of Itihasa Puranas in teaching of the profound teachings of Sanatana Dharma, and how it should be actually taught? I mean, we also hear about the Shastrik Adhyayana and Adhyapana of even Itihasa Puranas in
Yeah.
some of the commentators. I don't see that as a living tradition. Perhaps it may be in some pockets that I do not know of. We have a leading tradition of Vedanta Adhyayana Adhyapana, but not so much of Itihasa Purana. But we do read about them. That theme. Even in Appaya Dikshita's work, we read that Itihasa Purana can be Shastrically
Studied as a
studied.
Shastra.
Yes, yes. So some thoughts on this.
Yeah. So now I think the Shastric study has almost stopped, though for Ramayana, the Sridhariyam or Nilakantha Dikshita's commentary, for the Mahabharata. While teaching, I did refer to such commentaries, but normally in the Shastradhyayana, it has been almost stopped. And it is more like a storytelling now. And many times, in the modern, at least last 50, 100 years, it has been turned into a mythology, and therefore the mythological stories of that, they have become very popular. I feel pedagogical inputs from these Itihasa Puranas, one that even by storytelling, lot many things we can achieve. Number one, the value system. When the child is too young, if you tell the stories of Ramayana and the Mahabharata, the values get inculcated. And we have heard about definitely the historical figure Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, who was trained by his mother Rajmata Jizaubai by telling him the stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata. So that has that impressions, and the imprints on the child's mind, and that arouses interest also, and how to deal with the obstacles, impediments in different trying situations. A training also gets done through this. So that is a must, I feel. So telling the stories. And as you mentioned during my introduction that I'm associated with so many NGOs. So one of such NGO is Sanskriti Samvardhan Pratishthan. And that's an NGO running for the value education in the school children. And we have stories, we have come up, I'm the Kulapati of that. And we have come up with the books on Charitra Ramayan, Charitra Mahabharat, Katharup Ramayan, and the stories of patriots, Deshabhakton ki kahaniyan. And that too in 4 different languages, Marathi, Hindi, English, and Gujarati. And lakhs of students take these exams. On one day, it's an online exam all over India. I mean, Mumbai and Brihan Mumbai, even Nagpur, Panvel, Amravati, and all other places. And hundreds of students get medals, the first, second, third, like gold, this and that. So I feel they are definitely helping the school kids, and this is across all the communities and all religions, right from the municipality schools to the convent schools. Our karyakartas approach all the schools, and whosoever encourages them, they get to get 1 hour per week to tell stories from this. So that also helps. I mean, so these are certain ways, that during our schooling days, the children should be educated in these things. So that is quite helpful, I feel.
I also feel that as the people grow up, even in the schooling, I mean, while stories can be emphasized as stories in a lower classes, we need to evolve some ways of teaching more analysis aspect of the teachings of these stories. For example, some incidences from Rama's life or some incidences from Puranas, which are Dharma Sankata, for example. So there are a lot of nuances of dharma that could be taught, that could be explored by deeper exploration of incidences. I think that is something that is clearly missing in today's education system.
Yeah, that is true in a way, because especially while teaching Ramayana or telling the stories of Ramayana, 2-3 questions students invariably ask, inevitably. Why Rama killed Vali from behind a tree? Okay. Another thing is, why did he kill Shambhuka in the end? Shambhuka Vadha, Vali Vadha, Sita Tyaga. These are certain things,
And Sita Agni Pariksha.
Sita Agni Pariksha, exactly. And last Sita Tyaga also.
Yeah.
So he has failed in his duty as a husband, though he may be a ideal. We see in Rama all sorts of ideals put together, but then he is not an ideal husband, because we see all this in the modern scenario, especially in the women's lib movement and women empowerment, and so many rebellious questions they are asked. So the person who is telling the stories should have the thorough, what you can say, background and different perspectives to angles in which the same problem could be looked at and try to be resolved, right?
And
So,
also understand the nuances of dharma that is happening there. For example, in the Vali Vada only, in the Ramayana itself, that reasoning is already given. The answers, but
so people don't read Valmiki. That's what I was coming to. The first original thing is to read Valmiki Ramayana in the original. Even the Ahalya episode, you have to read original Ramayana and then come up with the other versions, because the later versions have quite different stories.
Yes.
In Valmiki, Valmiki never says, never cursed, I mean, Gautama never cursed her to be a Shila. She was Adrishya Sarvabhutana, Nirahara, Vatashana.
She was performing tapasya for the violation
exactly.
of dharma.
Exactly. So unless we are clear with our concepts of what are the sin, what are the atonements or prayashchittas for that, in which different ways. And lastly, Gautamaha Reme Tayasaha, he took her and he enjoyed with her. It is not that she was like discarded and outcast forever. It was not like that. She had to purify herself with tapas, and then it was like a normal life for her. So taking into consideration that she did this knowingly, she knew it was Indra. Yet Gautama was magnanimous enough to pardon her after her tapas. So such outlooks, if we give, then that will increase our reverence for our scriptures and our itihasas. Otherwise, we go in a perverted manner, as many other mythological book authors do it.
That is true. Okay. So moving further, there is a misconception that Vedanta or in spirituality in general is a pursuit for for the retired people. Yeah, old people. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it should be exactly opposite, because I tell you from my experience, while I was doing my BA during 71 to 74, 73 was my BA, 75 was my master's. So during those times, those 4 years, I was associated with Chinmay Mission. I mean, I not associated in a very active manner, but I used to attend the Jnana Yajnas. And one such Jnana Yajna in 73, I vividly remember, by Swami Chinmayananda Gurudev. He took 18th chapter, and in the morning there was Kathopanishad. And it was so alluring, so like infatuating for me. First of all, the personality of Gurudev is so influential, so impactful that you get swept out, floored away. And secondly, the deep knowledge which he tried to reach to us, through his powerful English. So that content also captured my mind. So in that young age of 18 and 19 years, I was infatuated, and at one point of time, I thought of, oh, this is all, very fickle and transitory. I should give up this world and take up sannyasa, not sannyasa exactly, but a Vedanta course at Sandipani Pavai, somehow it didn't happen. But then, I mean, it was so powerful. So that stayed in my mind for these many years, And when the first opportunity I got, when Swamiji here called me in 2018, I just jumped at this offer and joined it, because otherwise, staying in my Borili, my own house, my family, my kids, and everything, and leaving that and staying here so far in a small hamlet like Veliyanad, Adi Shankara Nilayam, I wouldn't have dreamed it. But it is Shankaracharya who brought me here, I feel. Because that was there in my mind.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, another question is that often we hear that Vedanta pursuit is an intellectual pursuit, and that the true sadhana, true spirituality is experiential. It is, I mean, people. Of course, there are spiritual paths such as mantra sadhana, yoga sadhana, etc., which are not, in a sense, purely intellectual pursuits. But it is my understanding that even this Shastra Adhyayana itself is a sadhana in itself. So, as someone who has dedicated a greater part of your life to Shastra Adhyayana, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, we can do different sadhanas, and I am not a very karmakandi person in that manner, but I'm like a Manasa Puja person. I'm a person who does Manasa Puja, and while walking also on the roads, in the mind, Ramaraksha, 15th chapter, Gita Dhyanam, something or the other is going on mentally. So that Manasa Japa and Manasa Puja, that I believe the most. Secondly, for the Shastrik Adhyayanas, especially, Shastrik Adhyayana, I feel reading the text again and again, over and over, browsing the pages and again reading the text helps a lot. So that also is a sadhana. Even though sometimes you don't understand the deeper meaning of it, by reading that, the words start ringing, resonating in your mind while you are walking, and that time you do the manana. So, as you know, the pedagogy is laid down in the Upanishads itself. Atmavare drashtavyaha, shrotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyascha. So the darshana may be the text which we read, that is the darshana. We hear from the teachers, it is shravana. And while we are left to our own selves, we do ponder over it. So that is the sadhana for me. So, and it has helped me a lot personally. And I advise my students also to do it in that manner. I mean, you may not sit for hours together doing a mala, okay? You can, in front of the altar, in front of the God, you can sit and do a mala, no harm, that helps only. Because I do it in the ilam here every day, though not a mala, manasa japa. But then reading the text, that jnana is going to lead you, that is also, reading is also an upasana for us. So that should not be overlooked. Nowadays, people don't hardly read the text. They just get to know the meaning, the gist of it from so many sources. Google Swami is there, and so many other sources are there. Very easily spoon feeding could be done, Quora and this and that. But then reading the text and realizing the meaning, the purport, that really is helpful.
I completely agree. That has been my experience also. And I have seen that I come to a conclusion that when we think of Shastra, in a sense, the Shastra itself is a guru. Such a guru that more the manana we do, the more layers of meaning it will reveal on its own. You keep reading it, maybe 5 years down the line, suddenly one doubt that was lingering in you for 5 years, one day, one fine day, it gets resolved. Just like that.
True, very true.
So this is wonderful. One of the areas that you have studied is also the kavyas, I think from Kalidasa to others. Uh, I have heard this that in Kalidasa's kavya especially, but even for other poets and Sanskrit tradition, lot of Mimamsa elements, lot of Vedanta elements, they embed all these teachings within their kavyas. Can you shed more light on this, perhaps with some examples?
Yeah. Kalidasa to the very first verse of Raghuvamsha, Vagartha viva sampruptau Vagartha pratipattaye Jagatah pitarau vande Parvati Parameshwarau. So that itself, that is the what you can say, the Advaita of Shiva and Shakti, which is like the Pratyabhijna school of Abhinavagupta Pada, or it could be the Vedanta, So, and that he has brought out through Vak and Artha. The word and its meaning attached to it, they are inseparable. And these Vedantic principles are, scattered all over Kalidasa's works. Yoga is scattered all over, especially if you see Kumara Sambhava and, how that Yogiraj Shankara is doing the tapas and the portrait, the picture of that, the word picture. Kalidasa is a master poet. And through words, he creates a picture, you can visualize the picture in front of your mental eyes. Shabda Chitra, you can call it, or a pen picture. So he is very expert in that. And you get to know exactly how the seated position of Shankara is. And that exactly matches what Yoga Sutras would give you, the asana, the Nasagre, Mudra, the Drishti, and all that. So yoga is also there, Mimamsa is there, the rituals are there, the descriptions of Rajasuya and Ashwamedha in Raghuvamsha, etc. And it is always said, like the Mimamsa Sutras, they say, and the Shrauta Sutras especially, that the Yajna has to have Raja with 4 of his queens, like Mahishi, Vavata, Parivukti, and all that. So all such names also are referred to. It is not that Dasharatha performed a yajna. It's not only that. Okay. So who was the Mahishi? And because Dasharatha had married all Kshatriya women, there was no Vavata and no Parivukti. Okay. But the chief queen was Kaushalya. So all such, unless you know, these are all technical terms in the Shrauta Sutras, right? Unless you are familiar with these, acquainted with these, you can't even use it in your poetry, right? So I feel that Kalidasa must have been well versed in at least the what you can say, the working knowledge of all the Shastras. It's not only poetry or aesthetics, but working knowledge of all. And Magha especially, it's not only Kalidasa. Magha, he is such a great poet. Kavishu Magha, Kavi Kalidasa, it is said. Reading Magha is very difficult. Kalidasa at least is enjoyable. You enjoy his reading. For Magha and Bharavi, you have to break your head. You first decipher the words and then get to know the meaning. But in the first two sargas itself, Magha has exhibited his expertise, not only just working knowledge, expertise in Kama Shastra, Dharma Shastra, so many, even the Gandharva Veda. The way he describes Narada coming down in the very first sarga, 7-8 verses are devoted for Narada's avatar with his Mahati Veena. So the Sangeeta Shastra also, Ayurveda, so many things, So, I mean, I feel Indian knowledge systems, to come to that, they were never exclusively taught, Only medical students will be taught Ayurveda. Only political science students would be taught Arthashastra. It was never so. Everybody was taught all these. So it was all an inclusive pack of knowledge, treasure trove it was, So everybody knew at least something from all these systems. So we believe in inclusivity and never exclusivity. No specializations, no super specializations, all inclusive.
I think even today we will see that in the traditional circle, the people having studied at least 2 or 3 shastras, perhaps Nyaya and Vedanta, Vyakarana, Nyaya, something like that.
Because they go hand in hand, no?
And everybody would have studied Sahitya.
Yes.
I think in traditional format, first they teach the language, Vyakarana, and then Sahitya, and then they go to other shastras such as Nyaya.
What I feel, Nitinji, see, now we in India, we believe in our ethos is Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Sahitya would give us the Sundaram aspect. Our Itihasa Purana Dharma Shastra would give us Shivam, what is beneficial, Kalyanakara. And Satya aspect is the Veda and the Shastras. So we have to study all this.
I think that is a very wonderful way to put this thing. I one since you mentioned Satyam Shivam Sundaram, I had this question. Does any text mention these three together, Satyam Shivam Sundaram? Or is it a modern coinage? Because we know that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma in the Upanishad. But Satyam Shivam Sundaram, I have not.
Satyam Shivam Sundaram we don't come across. We come across, as you said, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma in Taittiriya and Satchit Ananda, that is the Swarupa Lakshana. But Satyam Shivam Sundaram is nowhere. It has been later on coined as, to give our Indian culture in a nutshell. Oh, the Triratna of the Buddhism. This is the Triratna of Sanatana Dharma, I should say.
Are you aware of what is the oldest text or literature that mentions Satyam Shivam Sundaram together? Have you done any research?
I really don't know that. No, I'm sorry, I don't know that.
I think that would be an interesting thing, because the only thing I recall is some movie from I think 30, 40 years back, which
there was a song on this Satyam Shivam Sundaram.
Yeah. But the notion would be older than that, I think. I believe
it should be certainly older. Maybe it is not. We don't find it in one particular place or one particular text, but it is like anusyutam. In our the what you can say, the cultural mandakini. It's like a pravahita. Okay, it's anusyutam.
Wonderful. Gauriji, I have one last question. Please share with us about your current work in Chinmaya International Foundation. What are some of the projects that you are currently involved in? And also some light on how in the last few years we see that the IKS, Indic Knowledge Systems, is being revived. So what are your thoughts on how this Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, its dissemination and revival has to go about?
Yeah, I will answer that first, IKS.
Yeah.
That's very close, and I have been giving lectures on that through my Open Learning for All Ola lecture series. So, and recently I have started Ola lecture series in Sanskrita Sahitya from 5th of June this year. Okay. So, and their lectures are available for free on YouTube also. I mean, one can register also to get the link and all, but then they are available on YouTube. So I should say the first vice chancellor of Chinmay University, uh, Professor Mahadevan, he he is really a visionary. It was he and Swamiji who brought me here. I mean, I got so convinced that I had to join and come so far, you know. So all the like the contemporary knowledge systems, unless they have a bit and parcel, you know, some ansha of the Indian knowledge systems, that won't be viable. Because Indian knowledge systems as Indian knowledge systems would be dealt with only by the Sanskrit people, because all this treasure is written in Sanskrit. But there are so many things, the applicative part of it, forget about the theory, the application of that could be done in the modern Shastras, all the sciences. So unless we teach that, and unless we bring these together, as was envisioned by Gurudev, you know, bringing East and West together and past and present and science and spirituality. So that was his vision. So to envision that and to materialize that, this was started as a mission. And it was started much before the NEP 2020 came into existence. NEP is only as it is 2020, and the university started in 2017. So we were the pioneering, you know, the Chinmay mission, because university is just a dream come true. It's our child. For a SIF, it's the apatya. SIF is a parent body, right? So we started it much before anybody else thought of that. And so I really welcome this idea now that all the IIMs and IITs have opened up centers for applied IKS, you know. And so they really got to know the importance of it, that they have to implement it now in some way or the other, right? So this is a very positive measure, I should say, and this will give a paradigm shift to the entire education system of India. So that is for the IKS. And now for my role here in SIF as academic director in Chinmay International Foundation. As it is an international foundation, of course, we have so many exchange camps also. Some camps are done remotely online by some of the Chinmay mission devotees from West, and we make it available from the Chinmay Chinfo platform. Okay, recently a course on Subhashitas was run by Rashmi Kashi from US, and our Chinmaya International Foundation made our channel available for her. Some Swami from Ramakrishnananda, for example, from Chennai, he wants to do Kamban Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, and Raghuvamsha. You know, such a wide variety, Ramakatha. And we are running it through SIP. So such camps are happening, webinars are happening. That is one part. Another thing is publications. Publication, SIP is a very noted publication. So publication is a major part of that. And recently we came across, released some 2-3 books, one on music, and it's, Sangeeta Sanchintanam. One recently in Vijayadashmi Day, Adi Shakti, the narratives of Adi Shakti, the primordial matter and the mother. And then Shabdavadhanam, a very small book on grammar. Then Prema Kumarji, she wrote, very nice 3 books on 3 acharyas. You were talking about 3 Vedantic acharyas. Shankara, Ramanuja and Madhva she has written with a very unbiased pen, And the trilogy we published on Shankara Jayanti Day. So such publications is another aspect. Then there are so many courses which we offer as Swadhyaya. Swadhyayan ma pramadaha. And therefore you can do Swadhyaya. And there are number of courses right from Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad with Shankara Bhashya, Upanishad without Bhashya, Panchadashi. Recently the Vedic Suktas camp which I took, the Vedic Suktas, then Kalidasa's dramas, and raising a mathematician, that NGO, our Vinay Nair, he is doing a course on Vedic mathematics. So all these are available. So anybody from anywhere around the world can join this for only just, few hundreds to 1 or 2,000 rupees. So very cheap, very moderately priced. And then at the end of that, there is a questionnaire, objective questions are there. You answer that and you get a certificate. So self-study, Swadhyaya, that is another thing. And now recently, because you are asking me what are the projects, recently since I have resumed this as academic director for last 1.5 years now, we have taken up a few projects of like translations of some profound Vedantic texts. So that will include Chitsukhi of Chitsukhacharya. There is no English translation available. Of Vedanta Muktavali, no English translation available. Then Anandagiri Tika on Bhagavad Gita. Then Ramaraya Kavi's, Belakonda Ramaraya Kavi's Bhasharka Prakasha, again on Bhagavad Gita. So such text we have already started. And one gentleman, I can't disclose the names now, but one gentleman has started already translation from Vijayadashmi, and the other two ladies, they would start maybe in January or February 2023. So this is another project. And soon we are coming up with, this is a project conceived by us here. We are coming out with 108 Upanishads, word-to-word meaning and free-flowing translation. Word-to-word meaning and free-flowing.
Perhaps you could add a translation of Upanishad Brahmendra's commentary on all 108.
We are considering that Upanishad Brahma Yogi's translation. We are not translating that, but that we will use as a reference for translation into English. And some critical notes, not all the Bhashantara, but then this is a long project of 2-3 years, at least it will take. But it's a mega project which we have conceived of now. On Vijayadashmi Day, it has kick-started.
Wonderful, wonderful. I will be personally looking forward to many of these publications. This will be very, very useful for many researchers.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Gauriji, for this very fascinating discussion on various aspects from Vedanta to Kavya, Kalidasa to IKS to many things. Thank you for this wonderful conversation, for making time for our show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anugrahitasmi. Hari
Om. Viewers, with this we conclude this session. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates on upcoming events. Thank you very much. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.